Hello, I'm James Bourne.
I'm Elliot Davis.
And we're having a cup of tea with Wilma.
In Loserville land.
I was in a band, Busted, that we had a lot of chart success and played a lot of big arenas and have written for a lot of major pop acts. And now I've been writing a musical with Elliot.
And I'm Elliot, and I write stuff. I write scripts, I write musicals for a long time. This year I've had on Soho Cinders, which I wrote with Jill Stiles and Anthony Drew, and James and I have had another show on called Out There, which we wrote together. And Loserville was on at West Yorkshire Playhouse and is now in the West End in the Garrick, where we are now. So that's what I do. I write stuff. Yeah.
Got a vision in my head, if only they understood. We're doing things that no one ever even knew that we could. I'd be more welcome if they realized that I had a plan. 'Cause you're a genius, but they don't even know who I am.
Well, I knew James because we lived in the same block of flats together, and we hooked up and became friends, and he used to play me stuff. In fact, that was just at the end of Busted, so I have a real vivid recollection of seeing you play at Wembley. And I brought someone from Radio 2 down, so I saw James play Wembley, and then he went on to do Son of Dork, and he played me the Son of Dork album. I just heard great stories in those 3-minute pop songs, and I said to him, we should do a musical. And he sort of laughed like I was a bit of a geek, and said, what do I want to do that for? And but I teamed up with a guy called John Bromwich, who runs a youth organisation called YMT, and I realised if we had an opening night, he'd have to write it with me. So we hooked it all up, and we had a deadline. We went to Los Angeles, where James was writing at the time, and we wrote this thing called Loserville in about 4 weeks, dedicated writing time. Put a great team together, and that's the journey of how we got here. So it's been 3 years from writing to the West End, which in musical terms is pretty short. And there's been 2 productions, the first youth production in Bracknell and the second professional production this year at West Yorkshire, which led to here. So that's Loserville. And it's about, I don't know why I'm talking all the time, but you can just shut me up. Loserville is about a kid, a geek, who gets 2 school computers in 1971, and he realised if I could just send a message from one to the other, I could change the world. And that's what he does.
That's exactly right. I thought what was really cool about the story is that I think in real life you have kids that do really well at school, and you have kids that don't do well at school. And sometimes those kids that don't do well at school get a lot of aggro from the people that do well at school, and often, you can peak early, and, losers can end up winning later on in life. And I think that is a really true message that comes from the show. And I think the show doesn't take itself seriously, but at the same time resonates a lot, with real life.
Yeah.
And deals with a lot of real life issues.
Yeah. We're not writing Pinter, Marlowe, or Shakespeare here. This is like...
No, but the story has real issues you can relate to, but we deal with them in a very light-hearted way. And the music is really, very much in the style of the music I've done with my bands, with Busted and again with Son of Dork. The band is essentially a rock band, playing that kind of rock music. It's not playing 80s rock music, which so many other musicals do. If they're going to do rock music, if it's Rock of Ages or if it's We Will Rock You, all successful musicals, but they do that 80s rock, classic rock. And this isn't that. This is a more modern take on the music.
It really is a family show. That's what we wanted to write.
It's absolutely is a family show in the same way as a Pixar film is a family movie. It's exactly the same. Yeah. Anyone that says that this show is just for kids is wrong. play buses for kids. Do you know what I mean? It's it's a dumbed down, we're talking to kids, entertainment. Millions of adults tune in to watch Strictly Come Dancing every Saturday night. The choreography in the show, I think, I'm a huge fan of Nick's. I think he's done an amazing job. And every night when I watch the show and I look at the choreography, I just think, which adult wouldn't watch that and be like, wow, that's great choreography. And I think there's a tendency to think that it's young because my music background, I'm most famous for my work with Busted and with McFly. And some people think that that's young, so they may naturally think this show is for young people. But combined with all the other talents that have come to the table to make this musical happen, with Elliot, with Nick, with Stephen, Martin, all the people that have worked on this show, it's not just me. It's a lot of talents come together, and we've created a family show.
We want this to be a show where people go, maybe I didn't like theatre, but I'm going to try this. If this is going to be a first experience of theatre, you're going to see classic musical theatre mixed up with rock music, mixed up with a great storyline, and that's really funny. So as a first experience, I would be delighted to get those people in, and I know that we have in Leeds. And I've done some talks to kids who were having a hard time. They asked to go and talk to some kids who were coming to see the show who were maybe excluded from school and stuff like that. And I spoke to them before and after, and they just loved it. They didn't feel patronised by this show. They didn't feel talked down to. It's just really open to everyone. So, but as a first experience, absolutely, yeah. I love that.
It's a fun show too. Don't adults want to have fun?
Some do, some don't.
I know. Well, but it's like I do. I get a little bit, annoyed when people assume it's a kids thing, because they're very wrong when they say that. They really are.
Yeah, like people coming out having a good time. That's what Loserville's about.
That's exactly what it is.
Unchallenging, makes you enjoy a really good musical, big cast, young cast, massive energy. You have a good time. Everything a show should be, but with a little bit of geek on top, a sprinkle of geek.
That's a good way to describe it.
And that's a really good question. I like it a lot. Okay. 5 words to describe myself. I think fun, probably. Is that good? Why are you laughing? Oh no.
Because this is the most awkward question ever.
It's good though, it's challenging.
In the history of questions.
James, I think James is I'm going to use, they're not going to be one word, they could be just section. Massively open-hearted, hugely talented.
That's 4 words.
Massively open-hearted, yeah, but I said I was going to do them in sections.
Okay.
Massively open-hearted, hugely talented, great friend, almost perfect co-writer. Sometimes he's a bit late, that's why almost. And, yeah, he's a good friend, that's what I'd say. About my friend James.
Elliot is, he's very smart. He works hard. He's hardworking. He's funny. He has a good imagination, and he's witty, and he's very open-minded as well.
I've seen a load of stuff recently. Musicals, I've seen a lot of those new musicals like that aren't in the West End. They're trying to get up there, and I always, think, okay, I wouldn't have done it like that. I would have done it like that, and I know the process to getting a musical on the West End is one of the most difficult things you can do in entertainment. I mean, I'm doing movies and other things, but this is hard. This is almost impossible because the team and the jigsaw puzzle that needs to come together is enormously difficult. So anyone who's got shows in the West End, I'm like, well done. I mean, just in terms of a personal journey, it's a massive, difficult thing to do. And as a writer, you're at the centre of that medium and especially as a book writer, because everyone speaks English, so they think they know what's funny or how to fix a thing. But in a musical, the book is the centre of the thing, and if you don't get the book right, so when people try and change, so you're very challenged all the time. So a long way of saying there are classic musicals that I think are classic because they are so well crafted and so well structured. And you know, it's a shame to see Blood Brothers come off. I remember that as a very early piece of dramatic musical writing, which I really responded to. I saw Once on Broadway a few weeks ago, and I really, really responded to that. I saw. I thought that was really beautifully crafted as a book as well, and Martin Lowe, who's our musical supervisor on this Loserville, did the orchestrations, and for that, where he won Best Tony Award this year. He didn't win the Best Tony Award. He won a Tony Award for Best Orchestration. So there's a lot of shows out there which are really, really, really good. And there are shows where I love the score but hate the book. Yeah. The last thing I saw was Once on Broadway and Peter and the Starcatcher, which is a play about the beginnings of Peter Pan, done in a very fantastical, funny company ensemble way, and I really had a good time with it. It was so silly that I love that stuff, so I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Matt from my band is in Wicked at the moment, and I've been to see him about 4 or 5 times. And yeah, I mean, I do think musical theatre as a genre is, like, in a lot of ways, the best out of, you know, as far as any form of entertainment goes. I think musicals can be really great, and Wicked's definitely one of those shows. And but I'm a fan of musicals across the board. I like Les Mis, I like a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, Evita, Starlight Express, and I like, what's that other one? Sunset Boulevard?
I was singing that on the motorbike this morning. I was on my motorbike singing Sunset Boulevard, and that's great.
That's got some incredible stuff in there. I like that a lot. And, yeah.
In here, I saw a little night music a few years ago in this theatre, and really, really enjoyed that. You know, but yeah, like James, I like all of that stuff. Yeah. Well, there's always the standard stuff like talking, like don't talk in the theatre. Or laugh. You can laugh a lot in Lisbon. We can't talk. But we don't really have that because people generally, I've found that people are really. But there's some people. Look, if you want to do a show where you're going to attract young people who may not have been to the theatre the first time, you're going to have an element, a tiny element, who just don't. I'm really glad they're in the building, you know. But there was one moment in a very early preview in Leeds where we just had a group of young people in, and there was one girl in that thing who just had what I can only describe as a Malteser fetish. She was like, this bag of Maltesers was going on and on. It was like endless. She must have had a bucket. I don't know what it was. So people turned around and they just said, "Can you?"
She just wasn't aware of how much noise it was making.
Yeah.
You know? And some people when they come, they're just not aware of. But I can't really talk because if I see a film, and I don't really do it so much. I have a lot more respect for. It's weird. I would never do it in. I don't know. I think I do it in a theatre. Like, if I find something funny, I'm not scared to laugh like really loud. If no one else is laughing, and that can be quite annoying for the people I'm with. But I would never like distract. You know, like talk.
One thing I love about James is that he quotes the script back to me, and and so I love that. Like he always quotes it back, and then still when he watches the show, he'll still laugh at these jokes, and I'll be going, "Have they delivered the gag right?" Until I see the audience laughing, and then I can completely relax. So.
It's more funny when you Loserville as a show. I think is a lot more funny and a lot more entertaining if you come expecting to see. If you come expecting to have a good time and you come. You're not, like Elliot said, you're not coming to see Shakespeare. If you come with the right mindset, because I understand the show very well because I've been a part of writing it, so I appreciate how funny his stuff is. It's like if you see someone and they say a joke and some people find it funny, some people don't. The people that find it funny are the people that get it, and if you get the show, you find it funny. And I understand the show, so I sit at the back and I find some of it really funny still, and I think we've got some great actors who really do bring it to life in a really good, entertaining way. And it's very easy, you know, because I enjoy watching that part of the show, to kind of mimic that, and it sticks in my head.
There's one thing that I really just, and it really stuck in my mind actually, is that the show is structured in a way where there's one running gag theme, and it lands at the end of the show, and the audience by that time can see it coming. And I loved it. There was one press night, I think it was, in Leeds, where as soon as the audience realised those two characters were going to deliver this final thing, they were laughing. They just didn't know how it was going to happen. So there was this laughter of recognition, which was just gorgeous. And that's when you sort of know that everyone's having a communal experience, that everyone's on the same page. And that feels lovely to bring a whole audience together at one point. It's just lovely. That was really, because it spread around the theatre what was going on. And it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. So the thing is, right, about Loserville is that it's not based on a movie. It's an original show in the West End, which people have been crying out for a long time. It's got only young people in it, so it's original, fresh, young. It's got a rock-out score. I think it's funny. It's fun, isn't it?
It's funny.
They find it funny, and it's just a great evening of theatre. So come see it. I mean, what can be bad? We're also the cheapest show in town, the cheapest ticket, family price, and we've done that especially to encourage young people to come into the building. So hopefully we'll be here for a long while, and just come and see it, because you'll have a good time.
www.loservillemusical.com.
Open your eyes.